All right, so we're back to another video. This one's gonna be OP04 Rebecca. Like I said, I'm knocking out the rest of them. Probably gonna do Queen after this. So, Rebecca, let me just say before anything else is that, as the title says, Rebecca is not for everyone. She is very strong in what she wants to do. There's a few things that she likes to do. One being removal, two being playing cool black cards with a whole archetype behind it, and three, disrupting the entire, I would say, strategy of having stuff inactive. So getting rid of things that just kind of sit there, which is why Rebecca is such a good pick to go against Zoro. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the leader. Now, the leader itself is different, you know. It has a couple of different things. I think blue and black are pretty strong colors when it comes to removal and the different types of cards that you can use. First thing that you notice is that the leader cannot attack. The second thing that you notice that is also unique is that the life total is actually 5 instead of 4 for most multicolored leaders. And I think that kind of coincides with each other since they can't attack and it has 5 life. The activate main is that you pay 1 if you have 6 or less cards in your hand. You look at the top 2, you get a Dressrosa type card out of it, and then you trash the rest. So you look at one, you trash the other, and this is just really good in general because out of the cards that you play throughout the game, you just end up having 6 or less in your hand, and then you just have a free draw every turn, which is sort of silly. Especially since if you have nothing better to do, you can just open up with 1 Dawn and then you're good to go. Since this is blue and black, there are a lot of cool cards in blue where you can remove and you can play and look at the top cards and rearrange. Black, you can remove and play and have bigger bodies, stuff like that. But the important part is that this deck very much catered towards itself, being Dressrosa. The Dressrosa, look at the top 2, and as well as the character trait, or the leader trait, I should say, in this one, where all of the Dressrosa stuff is very good, specific to this leader. So let's talk about some of the Dressrosa support, and it pretty much all comes out of OP05. And there's a lot of good ones. It starts out with the 1-drop Rebecca. It is basically your leader effect, just that you can't find another Rebecca, and it looks at the top 3, and you just trash the rest. And the whole deck basically gets more and more things back into your trash, so that way you can use a lot of different abilities that help you get that. So boosts and requirements, things like that. There might be maybe a crazy person out there somewhere, not here, that is for sure, trying to use like CP9 stuff. But for me, I don't think it's going to be all that accurate, consistent, and all that good in general, so I wouldn't really recommend. Anyway, Rebecca is another searcher. Kairos is really good because what happens is that you have your leader and as well as Colosseum. Colosseum allows you to swing the turn that you play your Dressrosa cards. You're allowed to swing other characters. And Kairos basically says that as long as those two are on board and active, it doesn't die whenever it gets KO'd. So if they swing at it or if they try to pop it, you can just rest one of those. On play effect is that if your leader is Rebecca, you get to KO one of your opponent's characters with an energy cost or a cost of 1, and then you just trash the 1, you mill the 1. And that goes really well with Olympus, which doesn't have like a Dressrosa or Rebecca requirement. It's just activate main, you choose one of your opponent's characters -4, and then trash 2 of your top of your deck, and then you get to KO one of your characters, your Dressrosa characters. That's the only requirement that you really need. This is really good in tandem with Kairos, and as well as a bunch of other stuff that you use, and just black cards or blue cards in general. You pair this with like 3000 worlds, and you can take out an 8 cost pretty easily. Along with Kairos, where if you're playing, let's say, or if you play against something that is a 4 cost, like if you go in against Whitebeard and they have like a skillless out, then that 4 cost skillless or that 5 cost skillless can go down, and then you can pop it with Kairos or something else. So it's really quite good. Another part of that is that you KO one of your Dressrosa characters, and Cairo says you can rest your leader or Coliseum, and you can just rest one of those instead of sending it to trash. So that's pretty sweet. Sabo's pretty cool too, because it's like the opposite. It's a blocker 5/6. It is searchable, and it draws you 2 cards and pitch you 2 cards, but all of your characters can't be KO'd by effects. So in the Black Mirror or green, you know, those type of things that KO things in general, along with Kairos, it's going to be very difficult for your opponent to get rid of your stuff. That's the whole point of Sabo, and as well as Kairos. And then we have the big boy Monkey D. Luffy. So not only that he is a 7/7, pretty cool stats, but he can swing at active characters. So pairing this with Coliseum, you play it down, you can get rid of pretty much most blockers with a couple Dawn or less using Luffy. The other part of it is that you activate main. Since you are trashing so many things, you get to return 7 cards, exactly 7, from your trash into the bottom of your deck in any order. And you can choose anything. You can choose back any of the 2 costs, any of your removal, any of more of your Luffys in case you want to make sure you don't mail out yourself, any of the Sabos, so that way you can, you know, keep cycling your deck. And things like that, and then you switch it to active. So basically it has that dual attack from like Kid or something similar, and you can just swing twice. That's the big part about Monkey D. Luffy. Not only that, you can play it on the turn, swing at something, and then if it's on board, you basically can swing twice along with one of the 3 cost cards we're going to talk about in a second. Now let's look at the other part of Dressrosa, less used, well, I would say the first 3 are definitely used, and as well as the 2 costs here, Bartholomew. I guess it's just the Kandavish that isn't used as much, but these guys are really good. We talked about Coliseum and how that works. Leo sort of pairs with all of the other reduction and removal and things like that that have been or is really good in this deck, and basically you get to KO the same way that you do with Kairos, just for 1, and him being searchable and being a 1 cost or 1k counter is really useful as well. Kong Gun is basically your win con along with Luffy. A lot of Rebecca players end up just playing stuff and swinging at their board, and then when they're good and ready, they play this card where you can give one of your Dressrosas, which can be Kairos, can be anything, but Luffy is going to be a good one because it gets the dual attack effect when you bottom 7, and then when you have 15 or more in your trash, it gains double attack for the turn. So 6k plus double attack plus the dual attack, you know, swinging twice, basically says that if they're at 4 and they can't answer this with a blocker or enough counter power in their hand, they're going to take 4 damage, which is pretty good when you're considering all the leaders in OP04, except for her and I think Vivi, have 4 life. So if you're going against that, or if they just take 1 from like a Cairo swing or something like that, then yeah, this is pretty much the end game. Bartholomew is cool. He is a 2k. He's also a blocker. We do also have another 2 cost blocker that's a little cheaper and only has a 1 cost counter. Then we have a Kandavish where it's a 5/6, which I always like 5/6s. You know, the things that have decent effects. This one requires a Dawn underneath it, but it can attack other active cards. The only downside is that it has no counter power, so that's one of the reasons why people don't use it. And when attacking, you may rest rest your leader and then KO up to one of your opponent's characters that costs 1 or less, and then trash 2. I think this is really cool. I haven't really tested it as much as I want to, but on paper, you know, Kandavish is quite cool. All right, finally, let's talk about the deck list. So we've went through pretty much all there is in a Rebecca deck, right? You can throw in a bunch of stuff in blue or black, or from blue and black, you know, add some more removal, etc., etc. But the whole point of the deck is to basically keep swinging with your Kairos, remove the threats on their board, cycle through your deck and get some stuff through the trash, and then utilize those things in the trash basically to swing with your Luffys. And again, I've mentioned it before, the whole thing with that is the King Gun, where, you know, you just pay 3, you swing twice with Luffy, and then hope you win. That's basically where it comes down to. The only downside, again, is that it becomes a little awkward, which you'll see in the gameplays, where either you have kind of weird plays, no plays, or just wish your leader swung, because that would just solve a lot of things. And one of the reasons why I added a few of the things here, so kind of going from top to bottom, the one drop Gaiats, I guess it's like is a replacement for the stadium when you don't have it. It kind of comes in clutch, you know, only one, it's a one cost, so it's not too bad, but most of the time it's just a searchable 2K. Leo combines himself with the Lumbus, along with anything else that reduces costs. You can always throw in something else that reduces costs in this deck. Rebecca, again, is another searcher. The 2-drop blocker I've went down on because it isn't a two cost or 2,000 counter blocker like Bartholomew, and it really just ends up being something that I toss around as a 1K or something that I pay for 2. But nowadays it is pretty easy to get popped, whether it's from a Marco or in the mirror or whatever it may be, getting tapped down by a sugar. There's a lot of different things that it just feels kind of bad having a 2 cost out nowadays, unless you have multiple. So if you play 4, you may as well play a lot of them, but more often than not, you kind of want to play things to swing with. Kairos is going to be that one swing that swings every single game. If you have multiple of them or multiple of him, he ends up being pretty clutch, honestly, and especially if you get the stadium out and as well as having your leader active and just being careful using the Leo effect and not tapping that down and not having protection for your Kairos. And most of the time, if you're going against like blue or something like that, they have to spend 4 or something else like to return to your hand. Like that's not very effective. You can use the effect to pop something along with or Lumbus. But really, Kairos is going to be that swing every single turn for yourself. Or Lumbus is really good. He's a 5K swing, but more often than not, you're not really going to be swinging with him. He's just going to be the guy who reduces cost throughout the game to pop with your Kairos or your Leo or your Kuzan, all the above basically, or even reduce cost for your 3000 worlds. Most of the time that's generally the case. And then we have Sabo, which protects all your blockers. So in case you're going against green, that's the only time that's going to be kind of whack, or blue, because obviously Sabo's only says it can be KO'd, so it doesn't really ignore that. But filtering out your deck, giving the event cards in your hand, including Coliseum, is super important. And then the 5-drop Trafalgar Law, I mean, it's just a skillless card that is a 1K. You know, because you play so many event cards, because you play so many things like Luffy and Kuzan and stuff like that, it just ends up being in your hand. And if you don't have any plays, you can just play the 5/7, or you can just pitch it for a 1K. That's more of a flex spot for yourself. So don't be afraid to replace that with something else. And then we have Luffy at 4, should be self-explanatory, being dual attack and kind of your win con. Kuzan is also kind of a win con. It is a 10K body that is hard to get rid of. This is pretty much an end gamer if you've been pretty much removing all the threats on their board. That's important. You can't really play Kuzan if they have threats on board, or if you have a low life. I guess both of those things kind of are in tandem, but you should basically keep Kuzan as the thing that gets rid of something that is kind of a higher cost. So if you have like Bartholomew and then you play Kuzan, that's a 9K right there. And there's a couple other things. You could throw in something like Sasuru as a 1K or the 2K counter, and then you can reduce cost by 1 as well. The only issue I have with that, outside of just it being a 2 cost, is fine. It's just not searchable. That's all. That was the only reason why I haven't really been playing it. So you can reduce the 3 cost blocker, and as well as Trafalgar Law with Sasuru if you want to go that route. So that way you can use something like Kairos or whatever it may be. And that might be my final build. Who knows? Then we have Barrier. So this is another like flex spot of where Sasuru can be as well. Barrier is really cool because late in the game, it is basically a blast breath or whatever for 1. And the trigger effect's awesome since you get to draw 2 and discard 1. Same thing for Kong Gun, where again, you already kind of know that's like your win con. 3000 worlds is another removal, and then Gumrock at 2, also another part of removal with Stadium at 3, because you kind of want to see it. You want to see Stadium, and then you want to get rid of it later on. So yeah, that is pretty much the deck list that I've been I've been using and been starting out with. Any kind of beginner or any person who's starting out with Rebecca, I think this is not too bad. Again, remember your flex spots, remember where you can kind of change to your liking, and as well as the considerations you might be able to take for these for these two colors. All right, so we're going to start out with something a little different, simply because it was really hard to find a non-Rebecca game when I was doing the testing the last couple of days. So like we're going against King, which if you didn't know, it's been a while, he's kind of a meme, honestly, but it does showcase two things: what one, what a normal like game looks like going first as Rebecca, and then what purple has to offer in the OP04, which, you know, as a singular color, I don't know if it does offer too much, but you know, I did start out with the leader effect to look at the top two, got something, which is pretty much one of the best things you can do if you have nothing better to do. And then turn two, you really do want to establish a Kairos early on, so that way you're swinging with it as soon as possible. I did use the 3000 Worlds, which immediately now I regret because he played out the Magellan. So that could have been much avoided. But now I have the Olympus, which, you know, it's nice to have a Leo or another Kairos in hand, which I'm trying to dig for, but it doesn't look like I got. He's taking these 5k swings, so I'm guessing he just wants cards in hand. That's all I can think of. Magellan's kind of an issue because you do want to get to a higher point in dot. It's not like super important, but you do want to get a Luffy out. You do want to use your Kuzan. So, you know, there's stuff that you want to consider. A 2k out of here instead of blocking. Probably should have blocked, honestly, really at any point here. I do try to make the decision of popping the Magellan. I think I could have waited until I get the Kuzan out. I think that's one of the things if I had to do something differently here, I think I probably could have waited. I could have blocked that next turn. But there's no telling with purple. Purple can just like swing or pop whatever you want at the end of the day, or whatever you have on board. Plus the previous, like preventing another swing and maybe putting out this blocker, it was probably the right move. I'll just be behind a Dawn or a couple Dawn. Yeah, because like if you play the King here, which is no telling because it's a little different. He is at 10, so Kairos is unfortunately vulnerable since he doesn't have his leader to tap down. I did draw into the Coliseum, which is nice. I was deciding what I want to do here. I'm just going to play out the Luffy, just swing at his blocker. It's going to be pretty much an easy swing at him. I was thinking about resetting the Luffy. I probably should have reset the Luffy because, like, first, because I just kind of gave him another card before then. I actually personally didn't think being at 2, you would have took that. So my thought process was that, which again, he has the jet Gatling. My thought process was that since he has had a low life total, he would have not taken that, and it would have been one less card out of hand at least to basically prevent my Luffy swing. But he had the out anyway with the jet Gatling. He's gonna 10 to my Luffy, which is not worth blocking, to be honest. He played out the Queen. He's gonna swing with the page 1, and then swing with the ulti, which I 2k out. So it's not too bad. I'm just gonna block here, which I thought he was at 6. So or Olympus goes again. A bit of a misplay here, but I mean that's kind of one of the things, you know, when you really think about it. For leaders like King, where if you haven't been playing against it, or if you're not used to it in general, like, hey, this is definitely one of the reasons to look out for it. I kind of misplay here. I mean, yeah, I kind of misplay here. I think the again, one of the thought processes for me is just that, like, I have the leader effect still, and I wanted to use it. I just didn't know what I would draw into, so I wanted to keep the Dawn up. But it didn't really turn out too well. So I just left that up to chance, unfortunately. We're just gonna let it die here because he's just gonna swing at the other guy, and then King swings at face. Still have my my Sabo to block with, but not anymore with Kaido coming down. So now well, one, at least I don't have the -1 to be very annoying or be very annoyed with. I just have to deal with recovering and as well as just surviving this next turn, but also having some sort of win con. So keeping the Kong gun in hand is pretty important. And it just depends on how he swings here, which I don't think this was the play. I think the play was to force my blockers out. Because now I can easily take out this Kaido swing. And if he didn't have like a blocker or something, he did have this X-Drake, which really didn't do too much. I think he should have went hard on the 2 swings on the leader and as well as the Kaido. Because now I can just swing 7. He just gets hit by that. Rebecca does the same thing as well. And then he just loses with the Kong gun. Because I could have Kong gun and then also put everything on Sabo after, which would be a non-K swing. So it just depends on what he had in his hand. So based on that, his X-Drake was his only play. So it just didn't seem like that was all that great. But either way, that's king. A couple misplays here and there. But, you know, as you learn the deck, and as you learn some of the matchups and situations that you get put in, Rebecca does require a little bit of thinking, a little bit of patience, and just overall like planning. Like what are you gonna do the next turn? Because you can't swing with the leader, so you're reliant on all your characters to do the work. All right, next up is gonna be the Doflamingo, the new one. So we're gonna go first again. I think they're okay going first or second. I guess this guy wants to go second though. My hand's definitely a lot better for going second, I think. But that's okay. We established the Kairos pretty early. We'll take that 1, and then we're going to see what he plays out. Again, a Nami, which is probably why he went second. Or doesn't mind going second, I should say. He whiffed on that, which is pretty sweet. I'm just taking a look at my drop. I think Bartholomew into Leo is probably a little bit better. I just didn't want to rest my leader without having a Stadium. So I think that's, you know, you can go either way, but Bartholomew being out allows you to basically start removing anything. But the other part of that is that I have 2 3000 worlds in hand, and I'm like, I'm not going to do anything with these. These are useless. You know, that one meme. So the math pretty much checks out here to perfectly remove that, use the leader effect, get the I keep saying Bartholomew, but the Olympus out, and then playing the Leo to pop it. And then I didn't swing with Kairos because I have both my Stadium and as well as my leader up or down. So we're gonna do the same thing here, but this time I'm gonna use 3000 World. This is where Rebecca kind of gets annoying because you like anything you play is just not gonna survive. I'm just kind of thinking about what I want to do here. I kind of want to use my Sabo, so I do. The only thing that's in rest is my Kairos, which has 2 protections. I'm just drawing into my Luffy's, which is sweet. He goes 8s on here, which is a good move, and he plays out another Nami, which Nami now is a cool target for my Luffy. I think I could have probably went 9 here, just knowing that it is Doffy. Doffy always has some sort of whatever in his hand to protect. But I don't need to like there's no like major need to get rid of Nami. It's just another draw. And I was just thinking, I was like, okay, do I want to do it or do I not? And my thing is that like I have multiple Luffys in hand, so he's gonna swing at the Luffy. I get to protect it with all the 2Ks in my hand, and then I have 2 more Luffys in order to kind of go from there. He draws a Shiki here, but I counter out with another Olympus. Here's a 7, which I counter out with. Just thinking of what this looks like. So first, we're gonna go ahead and go 8 into Bub Gibson. Reminds me to swing with my Kairos, that is for sure. I guess it's either way, right? Because Kairos, it's either gonna be Kairos or it's gonna be oh boy, which is Olympus. So we're just gonna resend both Luffys, just doing his thing, preventing myself from milling out, and as well as just clearing his board, basically. I'm just deciding if I want to swing, which I do. His hand must not be that great if he's taking that 5. I do have Barrier up along with 2K. I draw into 3,000 worlds. See, if I didn't use the 3,000 worlds earlier on, I would have like 3 in hand, you know? So I guess that's that makes sense now. Here comes a 9, which is going to be easily countered out with. I don't have very much in drop, which is fine, I suppose. I think I'm just going to go 7s here. The thing about this is now, you know, we got to identify our win con. So we're gonna go 9 here. Probably 7 on Olympus. Cool. Cool. So we're just gonna bottom deck this, since he just like ruined the vibes. He was a vibe killer there, 100% vibe killer. He can Doffy here. Oh, he just concedes. Never mind. He just concedes. He just like rage quitted. All right, cool. Which is pretty normal for the sim. I don't understand. I keep getting comments of like, how am I playing? This is the OPTCG sim. If you just Google that, there's all the instructions for it. But it is well known that people just end up rage quitting. I don't know why. But there you go. So 2 Luffys kind of did the work to get rid of pretty much everything on his board. I kept pinging at him with the Kairos, and then here just having a bunch of 2Ks in my hand along with not enough attacks. It just seemed like it was a wrap. And there you go. That is against Doffy. All right, next up is Crocodile. Another cool deck of this. It probably goes like Isho, Croc, Doffy for me. Maybe Isho, Doffy, Croc, I think, for my favorites. And by the way, if you saw my mulligan, you can pause if you'd like. It wasn't great either way. I got 2 of the red rocks. Didn't see it last games, which is pretty cool. I could have bottom decked this Miss Valentine. Like this one, Miss Valentine isn't really that big of a deal, because like in purple and in yellow, you can play like 4 drops and 5 drops that are pretty annoying. So I might as well keep them in my hand. It's just that my hand is not amazing at all. I really should just get rid of this Mr. 2. I didn't read it correctly until it started doing stuff. So I definitely should have got rid of this Mr. 3 a long time ago. Just to give you a heads up as we take a look at this game. So his effect is that, or Mr. 2, sorry, Monclay. So his effect is that when you get swung at, it like this is like the card game player coming out of me. He gets the -1, which untaps one of his Dawn. And then he gets the amount of power that is getting swung at. So obviously I swung 6, he gets 6, and then he has to counter out the rest, and then that's it for the turn. So yeah, I should have not even worried about this one Sunday. It is definitely that Bonclay that I should have got rid of. So give you a heads up, Bonclay is the way. He's only a 4K on swing, but it is what it is here. I did go into that. I should have kept, you know, it's not too big of a deal. Like he's going to establish these 8 drops. So I'm just going to red rock it. I should have just kept another one in hand, but you know, if I ever run into another Luffy, I can return it back to deck at least. I'm just trying to do the math here of what this looks like. I'm going to swing 6 again at this stupid Bonclay. I don't know why I did this. He uses a color trap, and then he taps down my Rebecca to swing with the Miss Valentine. And okay, so he's gonna search again. You gotta miss all Sunday, whiffing on these crocodiles, becoming a little reliant on them, it seems like. Another 5 comes down. I don't want to get rid of my Bartholomew or Sabo, so I'm over countering here, which is not the greatest, I understand, but I guess I just value these guys a little bit more to get through it. I don't know why I keep doing this. Like I didn't understand the first time. I understand the first time. Anyway, yeah, I probably should have used 3,000 worlds into Sabo or into or Lumbus. Looking back at this, so we're just gonna swing with Luffy. I really wanted to establish Luffy just in general. I haven't swung once at his life, if you have noticed here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and return the Luffy's, etc. Swing at it, the Missile Sunday. So that way it's just another swing that I don't have to worry about. Here's another counter out of his hand, just dwindling down his hand. And now I have a Luffy, which is frozen, can't restand, but I do have another Luffy in hand. So most likely that's gonna come down next turn. Get rid of the Rebecca is fine. Another 5 key swing. It's becoming pretty annoying. Yeah, he protected everything. Everything that he has in his life for that Banklei. I really don't like this Mr. 5, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Tap the stage in case I needed to use a Leo, which I don't think I will need to. Olympus is gonna swing here. I'm gonna get another Luffy. Why not? We're just gonna swing 5s here. If he pitches both cards out of his hand for this, go for it, man. I'm just deciding if I want to swing. I don't think it's necessary with both Kairos and rest. He just goes all in. Goes all in, and we just proceed to play another Luffy. Because why not? Immediately dies. Immediately dies. Get another 2K, and we're gonna start swinging out of his life because I know he wants cards, so it's just easier to predict that. Let me go 7 here, and then he plays out the Missile Sunday, which allows him to draw, which is pretty annoying. The Dawn doesn't really matter because he's gonna go to 10 anyway. Now, haven't seen really any of the other bigger 8 drops outside of the 8 cost Croc, so I just counted out of this because I know he doesn't have any remainder attacks, basically, or remaining attacks. So I hope I'm not dumb here. Okay, I'm not dumb. Cool. So we gotta use the we gotta use the minus first. Pop the other guy. He has an on attack effect, on opponent's attack effect. So it's pretty important that I get rid of that first. You got another stupid Banklei. I'm now remembering this game. I don't like it. We're just gonna swing with everything now because at the end of the day, like, he basically needs to get 3 attacks in. I don't think he's gonna be able to do that. And now here's the big part. Here's the big part. Understanding that he needs 3 attacks, I also understand that, like, he's a 2K, I'm still a 4K. I don't care. I should be able to win the following turn, and I'm gonna put him on that he doesn't have anything in hand to protect it, which is pretty surprising, to be honest. This one says it can't attack 5 or less, which is probably really good against this deck. Just didn't see it, and then that was it. That was a wrap. Now, I think here he was playing more of the Barke works. I never know how to say that stupid name, but he was playing more of the archetype stuff. But you know, at the end of the day, I don't think that's like super good. Because there's like all these other like yellow and purple cards. It's like super purple heavy. You know, you could be playing Sanji, you could be playing the Yamoto, you could be playing a bunch of stuff. Maybe he just had that in hand and just didn't see it. But for me, you know, for this, getting the Kuzan out is like end game. You know, unless you're playing against blue and then they just bottom deck it. This is super important to establish late game, so that way you just have an attacker and you always have something to use your Leo or whatever with. But overall, not too bad. But that's it. I think I'm going to call it there. I did have some LoL gameplay. If anybody is still watching towards the end here, definitely let me know in the comments below. If I got like 2 comments about the LoL gameplay, I'll post it as another video because it's a longer one, and I'll try to go in depth on that. And honestly, I don't think LoL is the move for this format, even though it is, like I said, that's the same thing, or people thought the same thing last format. But they still creep up in top 10. It's just that, like, with Rebecca, Red's still around, and then it's just like I guess Law would be the answer for yellow. I guess that's a whole other video, but either way, just go ahead and let me know in the comments below, and let me know what you think overall as far as the game, Rebecca, and the video. I'll see you in the next one.